Hi, my name is Sarah, and I live in a small town in the USA. When I was a little girl, I didn't know how to speak English well. In school, I was shy. The other kids were good at speaking English, but I was afraid to talk. I used to cry because I felt alone and scared. My mom would tell me, "Don't worry, Sarah. One day you will be an English champion." I didn't believe her at first. I would sit quietly, listening to my teachers and friends talk in English. I wanted to speak like them, but the words didn't come out. I used to sit on the swings during recess, watching the other kids laugh and play. I wanted to join them, but I couldn't. One day, a girl named Emily came to me and said, "Do you want to play with us?" I was nervous, but I nodded. I didn't speak much, but she was kind. We became friends, and I started to feel a little better. One day, our teacher gave us a challenge. She asked us to write a short story in English. I was scared. I didn't know many English words. I sat at my desk, holding my pencil, staring at the paper. Tears filled my eyes. I didn't know what to write. My friend Emily noticed and whispered, "It's okay, Sarah. You can do it. Just start with one word." Her words touched my heart. I wiped my tears and began to write. Slowly, I found the courage to put down simple words. Like cat and dog, my sentences were short, but they made sense. When I finished, I handed the paper to the teacher. I was scared she would laugh at my story, but instead she smiled and said, "Well done, Sarah." From that moment, I realized that learning English is like climbing a mountain. It's hard, but every small step counts. I started practicing every day. I read children's books with simple words. I listened to English songs and tried to sing along. My mom would read bedtime stories to me, and I would repeat after her. It wasn't easy, but I kept trying. One evening, as I was reading a book, my dad came home from work. He looked tired. He had lost his job because he didn't speak English well. He sat down and said, "Sarah, I want you to learn English so you can have a better life." His words made me cry. I promised him that I would work hard and become good at English. That night, I couldn't sleep. I thought about how English could change my life. The next day, I went to school with a new determination. I started paying more attention in class. I would ask my teacher questions, even if I was afraid. Little by little, I began to understand more words. I practiced speaking in front of the mirror. I would say, "Hello, my name is Sarah," over and over again until it felt natural. One day, our teacher asked us to do a presentation in English. I was nervous, but I remembered what my dad had said. I stood in front of the class, my hands shaking. I took a deep breath and began to speak. My voice was quiet at first, but as I kept talking, I grew more confident. By the time I finished, everyone clapped. I felt like I was on top of the world. After that, I realized that learning English is about practice and confidence. It's okay to make mistakes. Every time I made a mistake, I learned something new. My friend Emily would help me by correcting my sentences. We would play word games during recess, and I would laugh when I got the words wrong because I knew I was getting better. As the months went by, I noticed a change in myself. I was no longer the shy girl who was afraid to speak. I started making more friends. I would join conversations and share my thoughts. English became a bridge that connected me to the world around me. One day, our school announced a big spelling bee competition. I was excited but scared. I knew this was my chance to prove to myself that I had become an English champion. I practiced every day, learning new words and their meanings. My mom would test me, and I would try my best to get the words right. There were times when I felt like giving up, but I remembered the promise I made to my dad. The day of the competition arrived. I stood on the stage, my heart racing. One by one, the other kids were eliminated. It was finally my turn. The teacher gave me a word, and I spelled it correctly. I couldn't believe it. I kept spelling word after word, and soon I was the last one standing. I had won the spelling bee. Tears filled my eyes as I realized that I had become the English champion I always wanted to be. From that day on, I knew that learning English wasn't just about words. It was about believing in myself, even when things were hard. English helped me communicate with others, make friends, and become more confident. It opened doors for me that I never thought were possible. If you want to become an English champion, here's my advice: don't be afraid to make mistakes. Speak as much as you can, even if you're scared. Read books, listen to songs, and practice every day. Learning English is like planting a seed. It takes time to grow, but if you water it every day, it will bloom into something beautiful. After winning the spelling bee, something inside me changed. It wasn't just about the words I could spell or the stories I could write. It was the way English made me feel. It gave me a voice, a chance to express myself. I realized that I could now tell my stories, my thoughts, my feelings all in a way that people could understand. One evening, I was sitting on the porch with my mom. The sun was setting, and the sky was painted in soft pinks and oranges. My mom looked at me and said, "Sarah, I'm so proud of you. You've come so far." I smiled, but I couldn't hold back my tears. "I couldn't have done it without you," I whispered. She hugged me tightly, and in that moment, I felt something warm in my heart. Learning English hadn't just helped me in school. It had brought me closer to the people I loved. But it wasn't always easy. There were days when I felt like giving up. I remember one time in class when we had to read a difficult story out loud. The words were big, and I didn't understand all of them. My hands were shaking as I held the book, and when it was my turn to read, I stumbled over the words. The other kids started giggling, and my face turned red. I felt so embarrassed. I ran to the bathroom and cried. I didn't want to go back to class. But then, my teacher came to find me. She sat down beside me and said, "Sarah, it's okay to make mistakes." That's how we learn. Her words stayed with me. I wiped my tears and went back to class. I knew that if I wanted to become an English champion, I couldn't let fear stop me. I practiced even harder after that. I would sit by the window in my room with my favorite book, reading out loud to myself. My mom would come in and listen sometimes, smiling as I got better and better. Every new word I learned felt like a small victory. It was like climbing a hill, one step at a time, but each step made me stronger. One day, my dad came home with some exciting news. He had been taking English classes at night, just like me. He wanted to get a better job, and he knew that speaking English would help. He sat down with me at the kitchen table and said, "Sarah, can you help me practice?" I was so happy. We spent hours together, talking and reading in English. It was our special time, just the two of us. As the days went by, I could see how much English was changing our lives. My dad started to feel more confident at work. My mom was proud of both of us, and I felt like I was growing, not just as a student, but as a person. English had become more than just a language. It was a way for me to connect with the world around me. One summer, my family decided to go on a trip to a nearby city. It was much bigger than our small town, and I was excited but nervous. There would be so many people, and I knew that I would need to use my English to talk to strangers. When we arrived, we went to a restaurant, and my dad asked me to order for the family. My heart was pounding as I walked up to the counter. I took a deep breath and spoke in clear English. The woman behind the counter smiled and understood me right away. I couldn't stop smiling after that. It was a small thing, but it made me feel proud. On the last day of our trip, we visited a museum. There were people from all over the world, and I heard many different languages. But when I spoke English, it was like a key that opened doors. I could ask questions, learn new things, and share my thoughts. English had become my tool, something that helped me discover the world in a new way. When we got back home, I realized that learning English wasn't just about school anymore. It was about life. It was about being able to understand others and letting them understand me. I could see how English was making my future brighter, how it was giving me opportunities I never imagined. But the most important thing I learned was that English wasn't just something I did alone. It was something I shared with others. My teachers, my family, and my friends all helped me along the way. Learning together made the process even more special. If you're on the journey to becoming an English champion, remember this: you don't have to do it alone. Find people who will help you, who will cheer you on. Speak even when you're afraid. Ask questions, even if you think they're silly. And most of all, believe in yourself. Learning English is like building a bridge. At first, it might feel shaky, but with each word, each sentence, it becomes stronger. Soon, you'll be crossing that bridge with confidence, knowing that you've achieved something amazing. One night, after dinner, my mom said something that stayed with me. She looked at me and said, "Sarah, you've worked so hard, and I know it hasn't always been easy. But the beauty of learning is that it never ends. There's always something new to discover." I thought about her words for a long time. English had given me so much already, but I knew she was right. There was always more to learn, more to explore. That was what made the journey so exciting. It wasn't just about reaching the top of the mountain. It was about enjoying the climb. So if you ever feel like giving up, remember that every word you learn is a step forward. Every mistake you make is a lesson. And every time you try, you're getting closer to becoming an English champion.